Good evening. You're watching the main news on ATV. I'm Heyling.
And I'm Edna. Here's a look at the headlines.
CY Leung admits serious negligence over illegal structures as critics file ICAC complaints.
Donald Tsang calls on public to give CY Leung a chance, saying he's done his best to make it right.
LegCo forced to suspend discussion on bills as not enough lawmakers turn up for extended session. Chief Executive-elect Leung Chun-ying has admitted to serious negligence over illegal structures in his luxury home that have caused a crisis of faith in his incoming government.
He made another public apology today for letting people down, but kept insisting that he did not try to hide anything. ATV's Raymond Young reports.
It was like the circus had come to town. The media circus, that is, at Leung Chun-ying's Peel-Rise mansion on the Peak. With media outlets hiring cranes to film the proceedings, the chief executive-elect was getting a taste of what Henry Tang went through back in February, when the scandal of his illegal basement derailed his election campaign. It turns out Leung has an illegal basement too, along with 5 other illegal structures that he admitted to after he was exposed by the media. This morning, as he left home, workers were busy dismantling 2 of them, the roof of his car park and a storeroom. That leaves a large gate and a 200-square-foot basement under the car park as the 2 remaining unauthorized structures in the mansion. A glass canopy was removed last week, followed by a second illegal structure covering his vegetable garden. After attending a forum with pro-government politicians this afternoon, the embattled leader made yet another apology to the public. But Leung again insisted that he had no knowledge of the unauthorized extensions when he bought the 2 buildings that make up his $500 million home in 2000. He has claimed he hired an authorized person back then to confirm there were no illegal structures and consulted 2 more last year. Today, he again argued that if he was trying to cover up something, he would not have invited more than 100 members of the media to his house for barbecue parties and interviews. But he admitted he had been seriously negligent for not identifying the problem earlier, and also reminded his incoming cabinet members to be more cautious. Raymond Young, ATV News.
The Democratic Party is challenging the result of the chief executive election, complaining that Leung lied about the illegal structures to his voters.
Others have filed complaints with the ICAC, again accusing Leung of making false statements during campaigning.
Leung Chun-ying may be quick in tearing down the illegal structures at his home, but his critics actually don't want him to do that. Members of the Democratic Party protested outside the mansion on the Peak this morning. They are calling for the demolition work to be halted, fearing important evidence for a potential investigation will be destroyed.
The implication is there will be possible 2 investigations. One is the illegal and corruption practices, whether CY Leung has infringed the election ordinance, that he has some misleading statement. If such, that will face ICAC investigation. The other side is the credibility issues, whether the future LegCo, after the election, they will form some investigation panel to investigate the credibilities, whether he lies to the public. So I think both investigation will require sufficient evidences. So retaining evidences is priority at the moment.
They should have a very thorough investigation to get the evidence, not only to take records of the illegal structure, but also they have the duty to ask the owner of the house to give them evidence of all related information. So it is not professional to let the owner of the house to demolish the illegal structure before the building department have get all these kinds of information.
And they are also calling for Leung to explain himself at the Legislative Council.
We urge CY Leung to come in 5th of July, Thursday, to have a question and answer period. This Friday, we will give a notice, and hopefully the House Committee endorse our proposal. And then invitation will be given to CY Leung, and he should come to be accountable to this legislation.
Other pan-Democrats have made their moves. Representatives from the ADPL and People Power filed separate complaints to the ICAC this morning. They are calling on the anti-corruption agency to investigate whether Leung had made a false declaration about illegal structures at his home during his campaign. But the pro-government parties again came to Leung's defense. DAB legislator Lau Kong-wah said, while Leung should be more politically sensitive and careful, the scandal will have little impact on his governance.
Of course, you can see from the whole picture, he is not politically sensitive. Since that there is a big debate during the CE election. There is the same case on the Henry Tang. So he should notify that there is something in his house. But in this afternoon, he has already told us that he didn't sense about that. I think it won't obstruct his being the CE in the future.
Lau added that the DAB will not support a motion of no confidence against Leung if it is tabled by the pan-Democrats. Raymond Young, ATV News.
Chief Executive Donald Tsang has spoken about the scandal for the first time, calling on the public to give Leung Chun-ying a chance.
Tsang also spoke to ATV about his own scandals that have cast a shadow over his final days in office. Nobody is perfect, Chief Executive Donald Tsang told ATV's Newsline program when asked about the scandals that plagued him and are now plaguing his successor. Tsang said Leung Chun-ying had done his best to make it right after being exposed for having illegal structures at his home, coming out immediately to give an explanation to the public and even showing people his house. He said the scandal should not affect his leadership.
I think we must give CY a chance to run Hong Kong. I think he has tried his very best to be candid and explain how these things happened, and that he's trying to make amends as quickly as possible.
Last month, an independent panel headed by former Chief Justice Andrew Lee said Tsang had placed himself above the law by exempting himself from the rest of the civil service when he accepted advantages from his tycoon friends. Another report released by the Audit Commission on the same day confirmed that Tsang had overspent on luxury hotels during official trips. Talking about his own scandals before he leaves office, Tsang said while he was just following his predecessors, he accepts that the public has different expectations these days.
My predecessor lived in a different time zone. I live in a different time zone. Community has moved on. Public sentiments have changed.
This is how he put it.
In my heart, I have. You see, I apologize for it. Not that I believe that I have done something which is against the rule or against the law, but I feel that I've hurt some people who thought that I was spending too much money, and these are the people whom I respect, whom I govern, and for that reason I have to listen.
You can watch the full interview on Sunday at 8 p.m. here on ATV World. Lawmakers may have to meet on weekends before the current legislative term ends to make up for lost time after today's meeting was halted because a quorum wasn't met.
Radical lawmakers said this showed even pro-establishment groups were losing faith in the incoming government over Leung Chun-ying's scandals. ATV's Arthur Keeler reports.
In a bid to make sure incoming Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying's controversial government revamp isn't passed before the end of the legislative year, radical lawmakers were calling for headcounts during today's LegCo session. Many of the pan-Democrats were absent at this morning's meeting, which was arranged to continue work from last Wednesday on scrutinizing a series of bills. After the lawmakers reconvened following a break for lunch, they had just enough members to meet the quorum, but People Power lawmaker Albert Chan stayed out of the chamber. Because of this, LegCo President Chang Yok-sing was forced to adjourn the meeting until Wednesday. Chan blamed it on lawmakers from the pro-establishment camp, saying not enough of them showed up, indicating a loss of faith in the city's incoming leader.
The whole pro-government or the establishment, they don't have the will to fight or the will to participate anymore because they are very disappointed and they don't think they have the duty to support CY's policy.
LegCo President Zhang Yuk-sing disagreed.
The DAB members, FTU members were all present, I believe. The empty seats were mainly those on the left of me, and also in the